200 years ago today, John Cadbury opened a grocery shop in Birmingham city centre, selling drinking chocolate. His family then went on to become the world's biggest chocolate makers, building the garden village of Bournville around their factory.
Our reporter James Bournville has been looking back at how Cadbury went from humble beginnings to a household name.
Here then is Bournville, the creation of two brothers, industrialists who hated industrial ugliness.
It was known as the factory in a garden, and for decades, Cadbury's Bournville plant was the largest of its kind in the world, employing more than 8,000 people when this film was made in 1953.
When you went round the factory, you could have the chocolate if you wanted it.
Sheila Allen was one of them. She joined Cadbury in 1954, at the height of its success.
When I first started there, I couldn't believe how many people were there. When I used to go into the dining room, you'd see all the workforce, the factory girls, come absolutely bounding down this crush hall. I'd never seen anything like it.
It's also where Sheila met her husband Bob, who sadly died in 2016.
I was very thankful to Cadbury's because I met Bob there. We had a lovely family home there. I'd been married for 56 years to Bob, so I have a lot to thank Cadbury's for.
So too did Gary, his wife Cynthia, Pamela and Joan. They've got nearly 90 years of service on the Cadbury production line between them. All of them say working at Bournville was more than just a job.
Cadbury's means the world. It was my life. And we wouldn't be where we are without Cadbury's.
Gary even has an incredible claim to fame. Not a fan of the 1970s lime barrel from a tin of roses, he had a better idea.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if this was a caramel barrel? Cadbury's thought it was a wonderful product. I received a remit of £500 for doing that, which I bought my first car with.
The Cadbury story begins well before Bournville. On this day, 200 years ago, John Cadbury opened a grocer's on Bull Street in Birmingham city centre. John's sons, Richard and George, took over an ailing business in 1861, turning its fortunes around by selling chocolate to upwardly mobile Victorians. By 1879, Cadbury had outgrown its cramped city premises, so the brothers, devout Quakers, built a new factory in countryside 3 miles south of Birmingham, with green space and spacious homes for workers.
They gave it this kind of French lilt to it, the name Bournville, ville meaning town in French, and the best chocolate you could buy at the time was from France and Belgium.
The link between the factory and the garden village that surrounds it remains today.
Cadbury's came to Bournville over 140 years ago. It's worked and it continues to work.
For 145 of its 200 years, Cadbury and Bournville have been inextricably linked. You can even smell the chocolate in the air if the breeze is blowing in the right direction. But in 2010, a controversial takeover threatened to derail Cadbury's place as a much-loved British brand.
This is a sad day for Britain. A successful British centre of world-class excellence is about to be taken over by a debt-laden American company.
After 184 years of British ownership, the £11.5 billion hostile takeover of Cadbury by American food giant Kraft was hugely unpopular, decried by unions, workers and the public.
We don't want to sell it to Kraft because Kraft is playing a crafty games.
Perhaps sensing the need for some damage limitation, Kraft's boss Irene Rosenfeld came to Bournville to put on a charm offensive, promising investment.
What's most exciting to me is it's a fabulous combination of some of the technology of legacy Kraft together with some of the capabilities of legacy Cadbury, and it's a really powerful combination.
So, 14 years on, have the new owners kept their word?
In the UK, not just here but elsewhere. They quickly reneged on some of those other promises, but here at Bournville there has been investment. That's positive, both in modernising the plant and also in research and development. But there have been significant job losses as well.
Cadbury is now owned by Kraft offshoot Mondelez International, and Bournville is no longer the force it once was. For now, though, the Cadbury brand endures as a quintessentially British and quintessentially Brummy confection. James Bournville, BBC News.
Is it too early to have chocolate?
Never. Never, ever.
7:30. Making me hungry. Happy birthday.